What's up YouTube? It's the Hacktivist Mechanic. Today we're back with our 1987 911 and hopefully we're going to fix a sloppy transmission. Let's check it out. It's August here in Dallas. It's very hot in the garage. We've driven the 911 quite a bit this summer and I noticed the last two times that I drove the car, the transmission was very sloppy. It's usually very notchy. This is a G50 transmission, significantly better than the 915 which came on the 1986 and prior. This is the upgraded transmission. I've had no issues with this since I've owned the car for a long time. But the last two times I drove the car, I noticed that I could not get it in the notches like I wanted to. Let's see if we can take a look. So on our transmission here, there's quite a bit of play. You can hear that sort of metal sound right there. And I can select all my gears, but they just don't travel into the right spot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on taking this unit out, replacing it, the bushings and some O-rings on a kit we got that I'll show you now. Okay, so to replace the bushings, we've got this kit that I bought from J West. You can also get this on Pelican Parts. Here's our kit. It's got a new ball cup bushing. This is a bushing that's going to the selector housing and a few O-rings. So it's really not very many parts. It's about $36 from J West, or about the same from Pelican Parts. I've got my trusty original Porsche 911 Carrera manual here, which shows you how to remove the manual transmission case. I also have some handy instructions from J West, who printed this out. I printed this out to show you what to do. I think this should take a couple of hours. For me, it's probably gonna take me more since I've not done this before. But let's go take it inside and see what all we have to do. The first thing we're gonna need to do is remove this center console housing. So there's two screws here, one here, it's two here, and then the same on the other side. We're going to take that off. Then we got to remove this console out of the way. There's a bolt here, a bolt there, and a tricky one back here that I cannot see yet, but it's about right here that we're going to take off. Once we get that, we're going to move this console out and start undoing what's underneath here, the linkages and everything like that. Replace the parts, hopefully get it back in. One thing I know we need to do is get this selector off. Obviously this is a different selector than the original, and I started twisting this off, and I realized that it really is not on with much. It just kind of comes off. So I don't know if you can see there that is not very factory looking. I think they must have shaved that down to put this on there. I like this shifter, but I wouldn't mind getting a new one with something a little different. But so let's get started. We're going to take this off first and go from there, and hopefully we can get to underneath here to start removing this. All right, we got our center console out. This is the cover, which it did crack in a few spots. This is very old plastic, so not great there, but that kind of cracked. But this is out of the way. It's very tricky. You've got to finagle it around the brake handle and up here. Now we have our foam, our other cover. So let's get this kind of out of the way here. Pull up this dust pad, and here is what we're working with, and you can already see how loose this is right there. It looks like the ball cup that goes here is completely disintegrated. So we've got to take this bolt out, and then there's a, let's see, a nut on the front here, I believe, and then remove these bolts here from the housing and jimmy this thing out. So we'll get started on that right now. All right, so we finally got this out of the car. I hope it's gonna go back in, because otherwise that thing is a brick right now. But all right, here's what we got. These are our new parts that came with our bushing replacement. All these parts right here. So first, let me show you this ball cup right here, which is gonna fit like so. This was the previous cup. So take a look at this. This is what was causing all the sloppiness in our shifter. This thing is completely worn out and disintegrated. So I already know this is gonna work much better. Here's the old shift rod bearing, which set into here. Not too bad. A couple pieces came out as I was sort of taking this out, but here's our new one, and I'm sure that's gonna improve things better. But this is gonna be our likely culprit. We should have a good success with this one. So what I'm gonna do is put these away, these trash pieces here. These O-rings, this small one's gonna go in here. This large O-ring here is gonna go right there. So I'm gonna take this off and replace that ring. Clean this up, get this bushing back inside. I've heard that's one of the harder parts, which you've got to put this in some hot water, lube this up, or inside here, get this back in here. It's a lot of people talk about which way it should face. According to the shifter bushing kit instructions from J West, this bushing should face 3 o'clock, opening that way, and that way you can take the bushing rod up and to the right and get it in that way. In my manual here, I have the complete assembly and disassembly instructions here for the controls, so you can see the bushings here, the ball cup is here, some of the O-rings here. So we're going to use this as a guide just to get this thing back in place, but this should be pretty straightforward. Once we can get all this back on this unit, we can put it back in the car and start trying to get the shift rod in there and button it up. Well, let's check where we're at. Okay, we have the new bushing cup here. I'm gonna send this up here. So new bushing cup here. You can see it fits in right nice. That is going to, the shift rod is going to fit through here, like that. It's going to connect inside here. We have a new O-ring here. There's a new O-ring right here as well for the pivot pin. Everything looks pretty nice and loose. This thing's got a bit of a bear to get in there, but one tip they gave me on the instructions was to put it in hot water, not boiling water, and not lube it. Don't heat it directly. They said just put it in hot water. Unfortunately, it's got some tabs that you can like ease it around. So once I got it in there, it's pretty easy. Again, we want this to face 3 o'clock based on their instructions. So that's where it is. And then let me show you a trick that I'm hoping is going to work. That you can see with the shift rod down here. This is the shift rod here, which the screw is going to go into. Now you've got to move this around to get it inside. So what I've done is I've tied a zip tie in here, which I'm going to thread through that bushing so I can pull this through that bushing, because one of the problems people say is getting this housing back in and getting the bushing through, the push rod, shift rod through. So I've cleaned up inside here. So I'm going to try to get the housing back on, get this thing in here bolted up, and then we will be good to go. Well, I'm surprised as you, but I've got everything back in there, buttoned up. They said this is the hardest part of the job. Honestly, that was pretty easy. The trickiest part was, again, you have to hold the shift rod I used this, the zip tie, right? I pulled it up and to the right, and then that allowed me just to kind of twist this housing a little bit, get it down, pointed down, and that 3 o'clock opening, and it slid right in there, buttoned up. I mean, could not have been easier. So all you folks out there doing this at home, it should face 3 o'clock to the right, and it was much easier to get in. So all thing that's left is to button this thing up, put this pad back down, get this console on top, put my lever, and then let's get going. So I'm going to put this console back on and just actually let's go through the gears now and see how that looks. All right, so this is neutral here first. Man, that is tight right there. Let me tell you, virtually no play. You can see that before it was all over here. That is amazing. So much better. That is +1 on that job there. Everything is buttoned back up. We're looking really solid. I think the only thing that I probably broke was a couple of the plastic pieces on the cover back there, but what are you gonna do? So but real happy how easy this job was. Again, no more play here. It's really solid. So again, this is a great kit from J West or Pelican Parts, 35 bucks. Highly recommend doing this on your G50 or 915. Makes a huge difference. But really happy with it. Wasn't that bad. I'm sweating so bad. It's about 105 degrees here in Texas, but great job there with that kit. I'm glad to have that back on the road. So last thing to do is take it for a test drive.